For over a century, Canada and the United States have shared the world's longest undefended border, a symbol of trust and cooperation. Their partnership is built on common values, mutual respect, and a deep, intertwined history. From fighting side by side in world wars to collaborating through NORAD, the two nations have stood together in times of crisis. Their economies are deeply connected, with billions in trade and integrated supply chains supporting millions of jobs. Canadians and Americans share culture, sports, and family ties, creating a sense of unity. But in 2025, Canada is signaling a shift, re-evaluating its historic friendship and charting a more independent course. In June 2025, the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta, became the stage for a pivotal moment in modern diplomacy. The world's most powerful leaders gathered in the heart of the Canadian Rockies, surrounded by breathtaking scenery. But the mood was anything but serene. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, setting the scene for a dramatic shift in global alliances and priorities. Amidst escalating global crises, including the Israel-Iran conflict and the ongoing war in Ukraine, U.S. President Donald Trump's abrupt early departure sent shockwaves through the summit, highlighting deepening divisions among traditional allies and raising urgent questions about the future of Western unity. Sensing an opportunity, Canada's new Prime Minister stepped forward, inviting leaders from Mexico, India, Brazil, and Australia to join the conversation, signaling a bold move to expand the summit's scope and include voices from emerging global powers. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum took the stage, calling for a new summit for economic well-being. She emphasized the urgent need for global cooperation, arguing that isolation and division would only deepen the world's challenges. Throughout the summit, a series of bilateral meetings unfolded, signaling the emergence of a strengthening network of partnerships that extended well beyond the traditional influence of the United States. The atmosphere was charged with urgency, as leaders engaged in crisis management and strategic realignment, seeking new ways to address the world's most pressing issues together. Canada seized the moment to announce a new direction, one less dependent on Washington and more firmly anchored in a diverse web of international partnerships, reflecting a changing global landscape. The world watched closely as Canada redefined its role on the international stage, challenging old assumptions and inspiring new possibilities for global cooperation. The G7 was no longer just about unity, it had become a symbol of transformation, adaptation, and the search for a new global order. At the G7, Prime Minister Mark Carney made a declaration that stunned the world: the old relationship with the United States was over. Carney stated Canada would no longer be the junior partner, nor automatically align with Washington. Years of friction and American unpredictability had made this shift inevitable. Canada would now pursue its own course, guided by its values and strategic needs. This was not just rhetoric, it was the unveiling of a new national strategy. Carney's government, elected on a platform of autonomy, was delivering on its promise. Canada would define itself as an independent global actor, not through its relationship with the U.S. allies and adversaries alike were forced to reconsider Canada's role. The era of quiet compliance was over. Carney's declaration was quickly followed by action. Canada announced a $9 billion increase in defense spending, aiming to meet NATO targets years ahead of schedule. The Building Canada Act was introduced to fast-track critical infrastructure and reduce reliance on American technology. Canada intensified diplomatic outreach, forging new alliances with Europe, Japan, and emerging powers like Mexico and India. The strategy: diversify partnerships and build national self-reliance. For the first time in generations, Canada was actively reshaping its global role. The message was clear: Canada was stepping out of America's shadow. Canada's pivot didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of growing strain with the U.S., especially during Trump's second term. America First policies, trade threats, and political instability in Washington eroded trust in the old alliance. Disagreements over Ukraine, climate change, and multilateralism exposed a widening values gap. Canadian leaders saw the risks of tying their fate to an unpredictable neighbor. The fear U.S. political crises could spill over, threatening Canada's economy and security. The world is no longer U.S.-centric. New power centers are rising. Canada's government decided its interests are best served by independence and agility. This shift is about adapting to a complex, multipolar world. Canada's new direction will reshape life for its citizens and reverberate across the globe, sending ripples through international politics and daily life alike. For Canadians, this shift could foster a stronger sense of national identity and open doors to new economic opportunities as the country redefines its place in the world. However, it also brings uncertainty, as long-standing ties with the U.S. are renegotiated and familiar partnerships are tested. For Americans, it's a wake-up call. Their closest ally is no longer content to simply follow. This signals a shift in the balance of influence and trust between the two nations. U.S. businesses may face new uncertainties as cross-border trade is redefined, with new regulations and tariffs potentially impacting supply chains and jobs on both sides of the border. Strategically, the U.S. can no longer take Canada's cooperation for granted and must now adapt to a more independent partner in areas like defense, security, and intelligence sharing. Globally, Canada's move may inspire other middle powers to seek greater autonomy, diversify their alliances, and assert their own interests more confidently on the world stage. The G7 and other alliances could evolve as Canada and like-minded nations work together to counterbalance U.S. unilateralism and promote a more multipolar world order. This shift highlights the growing need for trust, predictability, and open dialogue in international relations as old assumptions are challenged and new partnerships are formed. Canada's decision is a case study in the far-reaching consequences of political instability and transactional diplomacy, offering lessons for countries navigating an increasingly complex global landscape. The once stable U.S.-Canada relationship is now a symbol of global transformation, reminding us that even the closest partnerships can change and that the world must adapt to new realities. Canada's 2025 decision to redefine its U.S. relationship is a pivotal moment for both nations and the world. This is a strategic realignment, not just a disagreement. Carney's declaration and the actions that followed show a serious commitment to independence and resilience. The era of automatic alignment is over. Canada now seeks a more equal partnership. This shift brings both opportunity and uncertainty, challenging Canadians to forge a stronger identity. For the world, it signals a move toward a multipolar order where alliances must be earned. Canada's bold move is a declaration of self-determination and the start of a new chapter in global affairs.